A pleasant day to everyone. I am Ronnie May Sabanal and eLearning have been signing on to give you an insight about the language registers. Every day we are always communicating with different people. It could be our colleagues, business partners, doctors, family, siblings, etc. Communication is a part of our everyday activity, so we could not end the day without any communication. But when we are communicating, did we consider the language registers appropriate for the communication situation we engage in? Imagine that we're going to be introduced to the president. When we met him, we will say something more formal, such as, "It is an honor to meet you, Mr. President." But when it comes to our classmate, we could say it using the informal address, like, "Hey dude, hey bro." That's it. In every communication situation we encounter, we use a speech appropriate to the person to whom we are speaking and his or her context. The language that we use when we talk to our friends is not the language that we use when we met somebody as important as the president. This difference in language formality is called register. In linguistics, the register is defined as the way a speaker uses language differently in different circumstances. Think about the words you choose, your tone of voice, and even your body language. You probably behave differently chatting with a friend than you would at a formal or during a job interview. This variation in formality, also called stylistic variation, are known as register in language. In short, language register is the level of formality with which you speak or write. There are 5 language registers. Each level has an appropriate use that is determined by differing situation. How do we decide which language register is appropriate to use when speaking or writing? In deciding which language register is appropriate depends upon the audience, the topic, the purpose, the situation, and the location. It is important to remember that the different situation and people call for different registers. As a communicator, we need to know the different registers. So, what are those 5 language registers? The first language register is static, or we call this as frozen register. These are specific written or oral acts that never for real change. Hence, the name frozen or static because they don't change. These sometimes include old grammar or vocabulary. They are cultural, they should be related to the religions, laws, or customs of the community. They are usually unidirectional, meaning they don't involve back and forth communication. This type of language is often learned and repeated by both memory. Some examples include biblical verse, prayer, national anthem, religious books, laws, famous speeches, and Bill of Rights. Second is the formal register. This language is used in formal settings and is one way in nature. It is impersonal and often follows prescriptive format. The speaker uses complete sentences, avoids slangs, and may use technical academic vocabulary. It is likely that the speaker will use fewer constructions. This is the register used for most academic and scientific publishing. Example of formal register includes business presentation, research paper, essays in school, interviews, TED Talks, and announcement. Take note, in formal writing, there are some rules that we should remember. First, do not use constructions. Constructions are not usually used in formal writing, even though they are very common in spoken English. In formal writing, you should spell out constructions. For example, cannot instead of can't, have not instead of haven't, is not instead of isn't. Second, avoid using slangs, idioms, or exaggerations. Slangs is common in informal writings and spoken English. Slangs is particular to a certain region or area. Example, dude, it means guy, gig, it means job or work, mate, it means friend. The third one is avoid using too much passive voice. In informal writing, it is better to use an active voice. Example, the bone was eaten by the dog. The research was completed by the students in 2009. It is clearly stated there that the subject receives the action and object does the action. That is the way on how to write a sentence in a passive sentence. But when it comes to active sentence, the dog ate the bone or the students completed their research in 2009. Or you could say in 2009, the students completed their research. In the active sentence, the subject does the action and the object receives the action. That is the reason why we prefer to use the active voice in the formal language. The third one is consultative register. It is a two-way communication used in a conversation. People use this register offered in conversation when they're speaking with someone with specialist knowledge, always offering advice. In other words, this is the register we use when consulting an expert, such as doctor. The language uses is more precise and the tone is often respectful. Examples are teachers with students, lawyer talking to a client, doctor to a patient, superior to subordinate, and many others. Let's go then to the casual register. This is informal language used by peers and friends using slangs. Vulgarities and colloquialisms are normal during communication. It's probably the one you think of, but you can see there how you talk with other people. It is often in a group setting. Since it is a group language, one must be member to engage in this register. Example of casual registers are buddies, teammates, group chats, message to a friend, and blogs. The last one is intimate register. This communication is private. It is reserved for close family members or intimate people. Intonation is more important than wording or grammar. For example, husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, siblings, parents and children. Intimate language may be something as simple as an inside jokes between college friends or a word whispered in a lover's ear. So that's it. Those are the 5 language register. That is the end of our topic for today. Once again, for frozen register, formal register, and consultative register, we must use formal language. While for the casual register and intimate register, we can use informal language. It is important to understand the differences between registers so we can use language that is appropriate for a particular situations. Knowing what the various registers are, how to differentiate between them, and when to use them, which will help us increases our chances of being accepted by groups and speakers in a variety of contexts. So, I will leave you with a simple quotation by Cesar Chavez. Our language is the reflection of ourselves. A language is an exact reflection of the character and growth of its speaker. That's all, and thank you for listening. Once again, I am Ronnie May Sabanal.